Alright, this is the fourth time I'm redoing this video, so let's see if this one makes it. I've had my Steam Deck now for over a year, and I gotta say it's probably my favorite handheld of all time. I mean, honestly, the things you can do with the Steam Deck is like no other. There's no other handheld that can do the same things the Steam Deck does. And you know, it's just a great machine. It's very nice to play just modern games in a portable mode, right? And this is not something new. PlayStation tried to do that with the Vita in terms of porting PS3 games to the Vita, but it just didn't work out. There wasn't that much support for the Vita, which kind of sucks. And there was always this thing of being able to play AAA games on the go that people have always wanted. Cloud gaming is a thing, right? Where you can do like Xbox Live, or rather Xbox Cloud Gaming, and stream stuff there. Stadia was also a thing. Unfortunately, that's no longer a thing. And then of course we have GeForce Now. And there's also remote play that PlayStation has always pushed since the beginning. And these were other ways to play your AAA games portable, but they're not the same as the Steam Deck. You see, what the Steam Deck is doing is not brand new. Rather, it's been done before. Of course, there's the Nintendo Switch that allows you to play the same game in both handheld and on the TV, but Nintendo also did that with the GameCube and the Game Boy player. And I believe their first attempt was the Super Nintendo, allowing you to play the Game Boy games on your Super Nintendo and as well, of course, on the Game Boy. But there was also the TurboGrafx 16 that kind of did it a little bit reverse. The TurboGrafx 16 was first and foremost a home console, but that allowed you to also play the game in portable mode using a TurboGrafx Express, which was basically just a portable TurboGrafx 16 that used up a lot of batteries, and the battery life was not that good. Fast forward to today, and here we have is the Steam Deck, which allows you to play your PC games on the go. The Steam Deck is a Linux-based PC that just basically runs SteamOS. And SteamOS is a basically optimized version of, I believe it's Arch Linux, which is one of the Linux distros, which is pretty neat. And what that means is it can kind of do a lot of things both in gaming and outside of gaming. But I'll get into more details about that later on. Now I'm going to break down the Steam Deck into three different key points. We're going to talk about general gaming and just the PC gaming side of things, and then emulation, and then other. Other is just going to go not really a deep dive, but I'm going to tell you about all the other things the Steam Deck can do that's not related to gaming or emulation, hence other, right? I am going to let you know this though, I am not going to do a huge deep dive in terms of the other technical stuff you can do, such as, you know, customizing TDP and things like that. I'll give you a quick overview on pretty much how that works, but that's about it. I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty stuff. I'm sure there's a lot of channels that cover that stuff, and you should probably watch them for that stuff. But I'm just trying to make this for the general public or your average consumer that's just really wondering, should I buy a Steam Deck? Maybe you're a console gamer, you're not sure if you should get a Steam Deck, which I think you should. But hopefully this video will kind of help you make up your mind and definitely get a Steam Deck. So starting off with general gaming, man, it's a gaming machine and pretty much a beast at it. It's a portable system foremost, right? So don't expect anything that, let's say, a 3070 or above is going to pull out, but it does hold its own weight. You can play modern games on this, which was actually my biggest fear. Again, like I said, I've had my Steam Deck for about a year, and my fear was a year later I won't be able to play any of the games that comes out on the Steam Deck. Well, I can tell you this, they work perfectly fine. I was just playing Resident Evil 4 not that long ago, and it works perfectly fine. I could run it at medium graphics. I do have to enable FSR to kind of help it stabilize, but I was able to run it at 40 FPS, which is great. If you run it at 30 FPS, you can probably get a higher resolution out of it, but overall for what I wanted to do, it worked perfectly fine using FSR at 40 FPS. And honestly, that's kind of the reason I got the Steam Deck, is because I did want to run games at a higher frame rate than just 30, but I can settle for 30 if I need to. For the most part, every PC game I've played hasn't had an issue. I've played things such as the Uncharted Legacy Collection, which works perfectly fine. Again, when you enable FSR, of course. And there's other games out there like .hack GU that works perfectly fine without any issues. I'm also playing the Mega Man Battle Network Collection, which works fine, but there's something to mention. You see, the Steam Deck uses Proton, which is a compatibility layer that allows you to play these Windows-based games on your Steam Deck. What that means is basically these games are not native to SteamOS or Linux. So you might encounter issues every now and then, and I did get a little issue, which is not a major deal, but with Mega Man Battle Network, the opening scene, there is really no animation. So you get the splash screen that says Mega Man Battle Network, and you're really supposed to have the background moving, like it looks like you're kind of like jacking in, right? You know, Mega Man Battle Network, jack in, right? All that goes together. So it's supposed to look like you're jacking in to your computer or whatever device it is, but on the Steam Deck, it's just a still. Like, it's just like a JPEG, just a screen there that's just stuck. When you move on to the next screen that shows Mega Man, it's the same exact thing. There is no animation. I'm wondering why that's happening. Hopefully I can find out why that's happening. Maybe I'll leave a comment there and pin it so I can let you know. But yeah, there's little issues like that. Another issue is because of that compatibility layer that is Proton, a lot of games that have multiplayer will not work, and that's because of the anti-cheat services they use. Anti-cheat is not fully compatible, but there is a way for developers to make it compatible. For example, Elden Ring works perfectly fine in multiplayer. I was able to play it, people were able to join my world, I was able to join their world, and we were able to play it together. But with games such as Dragon Ball FighterZ, well, the online does not work at all, which is kind of a shame because I am picking up Street Fighter 6 on PC because I really want to play it on Steam Deck, but there is a chance that Street Fighter 6 won't work online with the Steam Deck. But there are still a lot of games that do work perfectly fine, such as Monster Hunter Rise. I mentioned earlier that Elden Ring works perfectly fine, and I'm pretty sure there's a lot of other games out there that work perfectly fine. I haven't tried Mega Man Battle Network online yet, but I would assume it works perfectly fine as well. Quick plug-in, Mega Man Battle Network works perfectly fine on the Steam Deck online. But yeah, when it comes to online gameplay, it's going to be a hit or miss, unfortunately. And it's really up to the developers to allow anti-cheat to work with Proton. I mean, there are some games I was really looking forward to, such as Gundam Evolution. I really wanted to play that online, but unfortunately that does not work. Now there's also the issue of other launchers. So technically, Epic Game Store and like Ubisoft and EA launchers won't work, but there are workarounds. So you can download something such as Heroic Launcher or Lutris, and those would allow you to install the games that you have on Epic Game Store or EA or anything like that, or GOG, right? That's another launcher there. And from there you can add it to your Steam library and then basically just play it in Steam in game mode. But there's a lot of workarounds that's involved with that, and that's something that I highly recommend watching a tutorial to get it running. But once you get it running, they do work pretty much, well, perfect. But on the flip side, let's say if you buy an EA game, the EA launcher as of right now is compatible. So like if you buy like the Mass Effect Trilogy Legendary Collection, I mean, it should work perfectly fine with no issues whatsoever. EA has updated it so that it is compatible with at least the Steam side of things. As far as getting the EA launcher, because it's a .exe file, there's really no other way around it unless you go ahead and, like I said, use something like Heroic or Lutris, which is another launcher. Now, one of my favorite things that I love that Steam, or Valve rather, is allowing you to do is pretty much customize how you want to play. So I mentioned earlier that I was running Resident Evil 4 at 40 FPS, and that's because that's the way I want to play it. You see, with the Steam Deck, if you actually hit these three dots over here, you get a little menu on the side. That menu allows you to kind of adjust things such as TDP, frame rate, and so forth. What does that mean? Basically, TDP is the amount of power that your processor is working at. So if you value more battery life, you can actually lower that TDP. The flip side to that is the games might not run as good, so you might have to lower some settings and stuff like that. But there's also system-wide FSR. What that allows you to do is pretty much run FSR on any game. So if you are playing something that's graphically intense and you want it to work well, you can enable FSR, lower the resolution, and basically FSR will do all the work to kind of get you that set resolution. The Steam Deck does run at 800p, so there's not really, I mean, most of the games should work perfectly fine, but in the few cases that you do need to lower the resolution, FSR is there. Again, Resident Evil 4, I had to do that with. Uncharted Legacy Collection is another one. And even Elden Ring, I had to lower the resolution because I wanted to run at a higher frame rate. But for the most part, if you're looking to run games at 30 FPS, you should be perfectly fine. I do like how they allow you to customize your experience. There's some people who value graphics over frame rate, and there's some people who value frame rate over graphics. Valve is allowing you to pretty much choose how you want to enjoy the game, which I think is pretty awesome. I mean, consoles are already allowing you to do a performance mode or a quality mode, and I like that Valve is kind of taking that approach to the Steam Deck and allow you to kind of adjust those settings on the fly as well. Again, it is a portable PC, so I guess it's not unexpected, but they have some cool tools that allow you to go ahead and customize your experience, which is a huge plus. Now, going back to that experience though, you can do dock mode. The flip side is it depends on what you're really using your Steam Deck on. And what I mean by that is, let's say for example you have a 4K TV, right? The games might not look the best, and that's kind of like an issue there. So for example, I was playing Uncharted Lost Legacy, and yeah, the games are kind of, it looks kind of muddy, right? And that's the flip side to that. But FSR does do a lot of work, it does help you out a lot. It's just, I don't know. When it comes to dock mode, it's kind of one of those hit and miss things. I mean, I did play Resident Evil 4 on there for a little bit, and it doesn't look too bad, but I think the ideal way to play the Steam Deck is really in that portable mode. But dock mode is a neat feature for emulation, and that's something we're going to talk about next. Now, emulation is probably the thing that I was most excited for when it comes to the Steam Deck. You see, I like to jump down that rabbit hole of old games and just jump into nostalgia and play these games, such as Soul Calibur 2. Because for whatever reason, we did not get a Soul Calibur 2 HD remake with Link in it. I know we got the one that had Spawn and it had also Heihachi, but it didn't have Link. And honestly, that was the best version because, I mean, come on, who doesn't want to play with Link beating up other characters? But yeah, when it comes to emulation, I just love to emulate old games, especially games that you can no longer get. And that's usually what I'm getting at. There's a lot of games out there that unfortunately lost to time. And there's no other way to play these games unless either A, you buy a really expensive copy off of eBay or somebody out there, or B, you emulate that game. For the most part, all emulation works pretty fine. I haven't had that many issues. There's some minor issues here and there on some emulators such as Citra, but I'll talk about that a little bit more. Now, as far as getting the emulators to work on the Steam Deck, it's actually very easy. You just go to the EmuDeck website in desktop mode for the Steam Deck and basically just download EmuDeck, and EmuDeck sets up everything for you. It's a very easy and seamless experience. You don't have to do no controller setting up. You don't have to really do anything. You just download it, customize your experience, whether if you want to do upscaling, change it from widescreen hacks and so forth, and then just play the game. There is also a cool Steam ROM manager that also downloads with it, and what that does, it finds the cover art to these games and it actually puts it in the Steam OS gaming mode, which allows you to basically quickly click on those games and it kind of like just looks like it's part of your library. It's a really cool thing that they do. It's very easy. Huge shout out to the EmuDeck team for making that possible, because honestly, it would have taken a very long time to set up everything, but they just do it all for you. It sets up your controls, so like if you want to go ahead and play, for example, on Citra, guess what? You don't have to do any button mapping. It does it for you. It even installs controller profiles. So the Steam Deck has this neat feature of going to and customizing your control settings, and it allows you to save controller profiles. EmuDeck saves some controller profiles for Cemu, Citra, DuckStation, and I believe there's a few more that I might be missing out. But I do like that they make this controller profile that maps out some quick hotkeys such as, you know, save states, load states, and stuff like that. From my experience, pretty much anything under, I would say, like GBA timelines, like GBA, Game Boy, PlayStation, pretty much anything retro for the most part has worked perfectly fine. Dolphin works fine with GameCube and Wii games, had no issue with those. Even Cemu works fine. You know, I've been playing Wind Waker HD, Twilight Princess HD with no problems there. I mean, I could play it on my Wii U, right? But it's nice to have it on the go with me because, you know, Nintendo doesn't want to port the game to Switch. I would gladly buy those games on the Switch all over again so I can play it on my OLED display. But for whatever reason, Nintendo doesn't like money, so I have to play it on my Steam Deck instead. But anyways, those games work perfectly fine. No issues whatsoever. And I do like that, I mean, basically any Wii U game that I want to bring on the go works fine, because there are still a few games out there that haven't been ported, such as Xenoblade Chronicles X and the two Zelda games I mentioned. Citra is the only emulator I would say I ran into issues, and that's because for whatever reason it has to load a lot of shaders, right? And when it starts loading those shaders and doing the shader cache, I guess, I don't know, it just doesn't work properly on Linux, I guess. I do like that the Citra team is back and they're working on Vulkan. Hopefully Vulkan would kind of help out and speed up everything so that you don't get that many stutters. But for the most part, if you play the game long enough, you won't get the stutters that Citra has. So for example, I was playing Majora's Mask, and in the beginning it was stuttering a lot. Like every movement it was just stuttering because it was doing this loading up the shaders. But once you play it for a little bit, it kind of just stops all the loading, and it just works perfectly fine, which was awesome. So that's the only issue you would have to deal with. I had the same issue with Pokemon Sapphire, and I believe Dragon Quest. Yeah, Dragon Quest I all had the same thing, because you know I have it on 3DS, but I just wanted to play it on my Steam Deck, so I have it all the time with me because I carry this thing wherever I go, honestly. But other than that, I think everything, yeah, I want to say every emulator works perfectly fine. No issues whatsoever. Now, I haven't tried Switch emulation. You can do Switch emulation on this thing. I just haven't tried it because, I mean, honestly, I just play every game on my Switch anyways. I love the OLED display on the Switch, so I just use that for all my Switch games. I mean, what's the point of using it on my Steam Deck? I guess you can do like higher frame rates and stuff like that, but I don't care. I just want to see it on my OLED. But yeah, I haven't tried Switch emulation, but I heard for the most part it works pretty solid. Like there are some hit and miss titles out there, but people that I know of that have been using it, they have no issues whatsoever for doing that. EmuDeck also includes those emulators with it, so you can also test drive those as well. Now moving on to the last bit, which is the other. Now other includes a couple of things that I just wanted to mention that I feel they should be mentioned in this video. I'm going to start off with desktop mode. I did mention that in terms of installing EmuDeck, you need to go to desktop mode. And that's the neat thing about the Steam Deck. You see, like I mentioned earlier, and pretty much since the beginning of the video, it is a portable PC. So it does allow you to go into desktop mode and just pretty much gives you a full desktop experience. Again, it's running SteamOS, which is a version of Arch Linux, or like a customized version of Arch Linux. That means you can go ahead and install like Firefox. Actually, Firefox is pre-installed, but you get what I'm getting at. You can install like Google Chrome, you can install Microsoft Edge and do like xCloud gaming on there. There's a lot of things you can do in desktop mode, and that's how pretty much you would add all the extra features such as EmuDeck. There's another one that I really enjoy, and that's called Decky. Decky allows you to go ahead and add plugins to your Steam Deck that further customizes your experience, which is pretty awesome. For example, a big pet peeve I have is there is no screen recording software built into SteamOS. But with Decky Loader, it does allow you to go ahead and load in a plugin that does screen recording, which is pretty awesome. A lot of these plugins are updated daily, or not daily, but rather updated frequently. And honestly, I do love the support and appreciate the support that they're doing with this. There's a couple of other ones that, for example, allow you to change your boot up screen. So like I changed my boot up screen to be One Piece. You know, the little mid, I don't know what you would call it, mid-credit scenes of One Piece. I did update it for that. It's pretty awesome there. There's another one that just allows you to change the background music. One of my biggest pet peeves and my biggest annoyance of Nintendo right now is there is no background music. There's no ambient noise on the Switch home screen, and there's no music in the Switch eShop. I mean, come on. Who doesn't remember the Wii U shop, or the Wii Shop music? Like, honestly, that's one of the most memorable musics or songs of all time, and they don't have any type of music in their shop. But what I did is I customized my background to have some music, and I actually changed the noise to the buttons, or rather like the commands, or when you're like scrolling and all that, to be similar to the Wii U, because I still love the Wii U, right? Shout out to the Wii U. You were a trooper. Just sucks you didn't last. But yeah, just make sure when you're searching Decky, you type in Decky Loader, because if you search Decky, you're just gonna get this place that sells hats. And I don't know of Decky, like the hat seller. Like I've never heard of that until like I searched it up one time and hats showed up, not the plugin. When you search up Decky Loader, it's gonna be a GitHub page, and you just download it from there. Now the last thing I wanted to mention, it's something that I haven't personally messed with, but a lot of people seem to be having positive results. That is CryoByte. You can actually download CryoByte, which allows you to go ahead and basically like customize your experience. You can add like more VRAM, I believe, or utilize more VRAM rather, and kind of just change like how much it's allowing things to go. According to what I've seen, it's supposed to like boost frame rates and give you more steady frame rates on certain games. I just haven't personally seen the need to download it, but I mean, I don't know. If you feel like it's necessary, you can definitely download it. Let me know in the comments below. Are you using CryoByte at all? Have you seen a big change in terms of performance gains or anything like that? Because I'll actually like to know what you guys think about that. So is the Steam Deck worth it? Honestly, I think it is. Like I said, it's my favorite handheld device ever made. I love how it just has years of gaming in one place, because my biggest issue with gaming in general is that it just seems it's really bad in terms of archiving video games. Games are just lost to time because they're not printed anymore, digital shops close down, and all that stuff. And it kind of sucks. There's no way to get these games again. And the Steam Deck provides for an easy way to access them through emulation. But not only that, it allows you to play modern games as well. And again, there's not too many devices that do this. There are other devices such as like the Aya Neo and all these other stuff that are coming out to kind of compete with the Steam Deck. But in terms of price to performance and to value, this has to be the best choice. And it just keeps getting better and better because they go ahead and update this quite often. The support is there. Valve is going all in. And honestly, this might be one of the most, I don't know if you want to say revolutionary devices to come out, but it's definitely got to be up there for sure. It's a game changer, and honestly, I'm pretty sure it's putting Nintendo on their heels. Now, I do want to clarify that I do think the Switch and the Steam Deck are for different audiences. Not only that, but I don't think one ups the other, right? The Switch experience is something different. I do buy games on my Switch, especially with the OLED display, but I do buy games on the Switch for other reasons, and I'll always play first-party titles on the Switch itself, while the Steam Deck kind of covers everything else. You see, ever since I got the Steam Deck, honestly, I've been playing my PS5 and Xbox Series X a lot less. And that's because I can play a game on the PC, and then if I want to play it on the go, I can play it on the Steam Deck. And that's something I can't do with the PS5 or the Series X. At least not yet, because there are rumors that PlayStation is working on some type of handheld device or something like that. According to what we've seen, it might be just like a gamepad that connects to your PS5 directly, so it's really just for home use. But hey, I would like that. If it gets better remote play experience than what I have already now, I'll definitely enjoy that experience for sure. But for the most part, the Steam Deck is definitely worth it. If you're on the fence and you're a console gamer, I think it's still worth getting the Steam Deck. I mean, hey, if you're a PlayStation fan, you can play the history of PlayStation almost on here. PS3 is already working. There's some games that work pretty good with PS3 emulation on here. If you're an Xbox fan though, not yet. Not yet. Sure, they're working on it for sure, but as of right now, not yet. But I do like how it has the history of gaming there, so I highly recommend it for sure. Hey, thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button down below, and don't forget to also follow us over on Twitch. Also, we do have a podcast that's available on Spotify. We do the podcast live every Sunday, as well as do live streaming Wednesday through Friday. My name is James from the Random Encounter, and we will see you next time.